Lots of you may be wondering, what is a Druid? Druids were the ancient people, the spiritual leaders of Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. The most popular Druid that we all know about is Merlin. The Merlin itself was actually a title, the leader of the Druids and the spiritual leader of the people, the top level Druid. The Merlin would counsel the king. When the Merlin was a female, she was called the Lady of the Lake. Those were the Priestesses of Avalon. And all of this information has become sort of fantasized, like a story as opposed to historical, even though that's what it is. This was an ancient matriarchal society. Druids were the ones who would initiate the kings and queens. They would hold the ceremonies and the rituals. They were the ones who were connected to the land. They held the holy space. They held the frequency of the gods and goddesses for all of us so that we could all seek and find wisdom. It was a primarily oral tradition. Much of their information was lost because they didn't write anything down. The information that we have has been passed down through generations and had to go into hiding because in the 4th century, the Romans came in and just started absolutely wiping out ancient Celtic people. Any of the wisdom and information about ceremony and ritual and their ancient magic that we did have was personally burned by St. Patrick, who was definitely not very saintly back then. He did everything he could to completely eradicate that wisdom because it was all about the magic of the earth and the mother and the womb. Druids were really known for working with the womb. That's why all those Neolithic sites that we go to are like mounds and chambers. Those represented the breasts and the belly of the mother. My experience of being on the throne of the leaders of the matriarchal societies was like being transported into that internal chamber of the sacred site, which is where they would do all of their rituals. And the reason it was particularly important for burial is because it was a metaphor for returning to the mother, for returning from the place that we came. These ancient societies weren't afraid of darkness. This was before evil existed because that was also created by the church. It's like I said in my beginner's witchcraft video, winter is just part of the cycle. It's just a season in life. And that's the darkness, that's the womb, that's where we come from, and that's where we will return to. And so that information is really threatening when you're trying to control people and get them to listen to you. But the Druids carried that really profoundly. Druids had the power of earth magic. They actually fought off the Roman soldiers for a few hundred years before they were finally overtaken because they would call in the mists to confuse the enemies when the Romans were coming, and then they would be able to use their magic to protect themselves, the wisdom to protect themselves. Then the ladies of the lake were also known for parting the mists so that they would have all of these beautiful hidden treasures that only they knew how to part in order to be able to find. We know the story of Merlin. He was there to support the king who was meant to rise up and stand for the people, the truth. King Arthur is a perfect metaphor for that which has been taken away from us, our true power, our deepest magic. And Merlin is this symbol of supporting that magic, calling it forward. So you can call on that powerful frequency of magic whenever you want to call it forward within yourself, the strength to pull the sword from the stone, whatever that means for you. The Druids were like the Native Americans, the indigenous people to the Celtic lands. Their earth-based spirituality and how they read the signs and symbols of the world around them in order to live as harmoniously with the earth and each other as they possibly could. If you have any other questions about Druids or ancient Celtic magic, type us a comment. We'd love to hear from you and continue to answer all of your questions about living life in the wizarding world. I'm Magick. Thank you guys so much for watching.